All right, guys, happy Wednesday. Happy early Thanksgiving. Hope you are enjoying a rivalry week here across college football, enjoying your holiday week. One final day of work, everybody, until most folks are off for Thanksgiving. Get to eat some turkey, watch some football. Those are some of my favorite traditions. Welcome into AL.com Recruiting, brought to you by Southern Orthopedic Surgeons, here for the athlete in all of us. I'm Simone Eli, alongside Ben Thomas. Ben, tell me one of your Thanksgiving traditions. What do y'all do?
Eat anything sweet potato. Sweet potato souffle is my favorite. Watch football, whatever's on the TV,
Sure.
and just enjoy being together.
Yeah.
I once had a Thanksgiving where, when I was single, that I had Thanksgiving dinner at Shoney's. It was not a good memory. So I'm just thankful. Be thankful for all the blessings in our life.
Of course. Well, we are thankful for many things here, but especially thankful for our loyal viewers. This is show number 31. We're excited to bring it to you. We've got a great guest today. Let's bring him in. It's Keith Nieber from 247 Sports. Covers all the things recruiting all throughout the country. He joins us on the phone here. Keith, how are you doing? Happy early Thanksgiving to you.
Yeah, man, I'm doing great. How about you guys?
Doing well, man. Got not only Thanksgiving, but obviously along with Thanksgiving comes the Iron Bowl on Saturday at Jordan-Hare Stadium. How big is this? And just, Keith, how big annually is the Iron Bowl as far as recruiting goes? What type of impact?
It's huge. It's obviously huge for both teams because it's a showcase game. It's one of the probably, I didn't go to Auburn or Alabama, and I cover Auburn. I went to University of Florida, and I still think this is the game. This is the rivalry. So it's a centerpiece game, and perhaps arguably a strong argument could be made. It is the centerpiece game in college football, outside, obviously, the championship game. It's just the setting is unbelievable. The atmosphere, the energy in the stadium, the energy outside the stadium, the energy for the other 364 days of the year. It truly is a rivalry that's unlike anything else in America, to be honest with you, in this country. And it's been an absolute joy to be a part of it. And my part of it is that I write about the recruiting aspects. And for both programs, it's huge. Probably more so, I would think maybe more so for Auburn, because they need, they're not the team that's been winning the national titles lately. So this game is so significant to them to be able to show the recruits, hey, you're going to play against the best when you come to Auburn. You're going to play in the best atmosphere. They've really got to sell that. And year in and year out, it's provided Auburn with the biggest and best visitors list of the college football season for them. And this year's no different. There's going to end up being 6, 7, maybe up to 8 5-star recruits at the game, 30 or 44 stars. A lot of young kids that aren't even ranked yet that'll end up being 5 stars and 4 stars down the road. So it's hugely important for Auburn, and maybe more so this year than ever before, because right now they've only got 13 commitments, and the early signing period begins December 15th. This is where the final stretch, the final push on the home stretch, where you're kicking the heels on the horse to get him to go a little faster. This is the home stretch for Auburn football recruiting, and a lot of things are going to start to take shape this weekend.
Keith, when it comes to Brian Harsin, before we get into the actual official visitors list, when it comes to Brian Harsin coaching his first Iron Bowl, trying to make a good impact on his first real full recruiting class, in terms of him and the coaching staff, how important is this?
I mean, it doesn't get any bigger than this. And again, it's not just about winning. You want to win the game, obviously, but they're trying to sell their vision. They're trying to sell their vision of the future. Look what you'll be playing in. Look who you'll be playing against. If you're not playing for the best, you certainly want to play against the best. If you're an elite athlete, that's what Auburn, wants to be. They want to bring in these guys. They're shooting to be the best, but right now they're just playing the best. And to get to that next level, they've got to start winning these major recruiting battles. And they've got a ton of kids coming in this weekend that they have legitimate chances to land. And so, again, they're not in a great spot right now. 34th, I think, in the country in the recruiting rankings. That's below Auburn standards. 13th, I think, in the Southeastern Conference. That's far below Auburn standards. And you're going to start seeing the rise happening in the next couple of weeks. They've got a real chance to get into the top 20, maybe the top 15. That's still not at the level Auburn wants to be and needs to be at, but it's getting closer. Again, this class was outside the top 80, when June began, and now they're pushing for the top 20. And guys, they had a lot of coaches that didn't. Half the staff didn't really have any connections to the South, and it was going to take time. And then you had the COVID year And then you had all these restrictions. You couldn't have any recruits on campus until I think it was May or June. I can't remember exactly when. And so they went several months being new on the job without getting face-to-face with kids, which was a real killer. And not to make too many excuses, but that's a legitimate one. So they were always behind the 8 ball a little bit, and now they're starting to catch up. And again, show the atmosphere, show the energy in the stadium, lay out the plan for that particular kid within the program, but then also highlight the vision of what you have for your program moving forward. And there's a lot to sell. And also you both know, you're in this world that I'm in. Kids seem to look at Auburn, kids being recruits, they seem to look at Auburn a lot differently once they visit the place. Up until that point, it's just a place they've heard about and don't know anything about. And once they visit, it's just one of those places. You either love it or you don't. And if you love it, you want to keep going back and back and back. People really seem to fall in love with that place. And so it's vital that Auburn gets kids on campus, and they are, and now they get to showcase what they have and what they're all about.
Keith, you've always got the latest follow. You can follow him on 247 Sports. But what is it? How many visitors are coming in now, and who are a couple of the top targets you think that Auburn's got a shot at here?
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you the exact number. I mean, it's going to be over 100, and probably half of those will be legitimate top 10 guys that could play at top 10, top 15, top 20 programs. I'd say some of the big ones. I mean, let's start with one guy that's committed to Alabama. That's 4-star linebacker Robert Woodyard from your neck of the woods. And just before we came on, I actually put in a crystal ball projection for Woodyard to flip to Auburn. It's kind of been in the works for a while. We think he'll probably do it on signing day. So that's a big one because they got to start getting some top in-state guys again. You know, when Gus Malzahn got to Auburn, they were winning some of those battles. By the time he left, they weren't winning many of them. And they've got to reverse that trend if they're going to compete. Now, obviously, they had success. They beat Alabama 4 times in the last decade. But when you look at the overall picture, they didn't win nearly as many games, championships, and et cetera. So it starts at home, and so that's a significant Robert Woodyard. Then you look at the official visitors. You know, you've got a lot of young guys. We get into that later. But when you look at the official visitors, you've got the #1 junior college defensive tackle in the country, Jeffrey Embaugh from Independence Community College in Kansas. This is an interesting one because he was a Virginia commit, and then he really exploded, started getting offers from everybody. You can't win in the SEC consistently without great play up front. They've got to get better on the O-line and the D-line. #1 D tackle in the country in the JUCOs. He's from France. He'll be at the game unofficially. He'll leave. He'll come back the next day for a 3-day official visit with his uncle who's flying in from France. Curtis Perry, in-state defensive lineman, one of the top 10 recruits you guys both know from Pike Road, one of the top 10 recruits in the state of Alabama, another defensive lineman. They've got to beef up on the D-line. The D-line at Auburn's been okay this year, but there's not a lot of tackles for loss. There's not a ton of sacks. They've got to get better there. Here's a really big one. Jadarian Rhyme, 4-star cornerback committed to Valdosta. No, he goes to Valdosta. He's committed to LSU, but he's wavering. That coaching situation in LSU's got a lot of kids on the fence. LSU defensive backs coach Corey Raymond, one of the most respected guys in college football. All these kids are close with him. They don't know whether he's going to be there next year. So that has cracked the door for other schools. Auburn is the one school that has a chance to flip him. He will be officially visiting this weekend. This is his second visit to Auburn in a month. He's coached by a guy named Shelton Felton, former Tennessee assistant, but before that was at Crisp County in Georgia, and he sent guys to Auburn before as well. So there's a good connection there. That's a big one because you're going to be losing Roger McCreary, who, again, another stud from your neck of the woods. Yeah. You may lose some other guys. They've got to have great cornerbacks in the SEC. Another big one, 4-star receiver Antonio Williams out of South Carolina. Everybody that's watched Auburn play this year has seen, and if you're an Auburn fan, cringed a lot watching the receivers try to catch the football. It's been a struggle at times. Antonio Williams, sensational player. Both his parents, though, went to Ole Miss. He lives in Columbia, South Carolina. So those two schools, Ole Miss and South Carolina, in the mix. And then Clemson just offered last week. That's probably the school Auburn's got to concern itself with. But this atmosphere will be something with which he will never have experienced previously. Auburn's hoping that pushes them over the top. And then I'll give you one more. And there's a ton of guys. This guy's the #2 junior college corner in the country. Look, recruiting junior college players at an Auburn or an Alabama isn't ideal. But again, they're losing a lot of guys from the last, from over these next couple cycles. Last year's recruiting class wasn't great. they're going to have to fill in some gaps until they can get the program really kicking. Keontae Scott, number 2 junior college corner in the country from Snow College in Utah, a guy that'll give you experience. He went to Helix High School in San Diego, which I believe not only is where Reggie Bush went, but where Bill Walton went. It is the high school for athletics in San Diego. This guy's really something special. Had an outstanding junior college year, was a non-qualifier, I think, out of high school. He's got his academics in order. He'll be there this weekend. They're fighting off Oregon, Tennessee, maybe Miami. But again, you're going to lose Roger McCreary, maybe the best cover corner in the SEC. I mean, he's certainly in that conversation. You've got to replace him. Is a high school guy like Jadarian Rim ready, or do you need to bring in him and a JUCO guy that is a little bit older, a little bit more seasoned? So those are some big ones. And then obviously in the junior class, I've got 5 stars already listed coming to the game, including the 3 5-star defensive backs, all cornerbacks in the state of Alabama. A.J. Harris from Phoenix City Glenwood, Jaleel Hurley from Florence, and Tony Mitchell from Thompson High School in Alabaster. And then you've got the number 1 running back in the country in the 2023 class, Richard Young, will be there. Cadillac Williams, Auburn's running backs coach, attended one of his games recently. And then Peter Woods, the defensive tackle from Alabaster Thompson as well. There's going to be some others. There's going to be guys committed to other schools. There'll be some other 5 stars. It's going to be a wild weekend. It's going to be hard to keep track of it all.
Keith, I think some Auburn fans are probably wondering, obviously there are 3 touchdown underdog, I think, in this game. But even if they don't come out on top, that atmosphere and seeing Auburn and everything, how big can that be on this recruiting season?
Yeah, huge, because, I mean, let's be honest. Kids watch football. The kids, these 16, 17, 18. Not many of them probably expect Auburn to win. They're not dumb. They've seen the season, how the season's transpired, I mean, can Auburn win? Sure. Stranger things have happened. And listen, 2-3 weeks ago, the 3 of us probably would have thought, okay, Auburn's got a real chance here. They still got the same guys on the team. They just got to start figuring it out again. But again, it's selling the vision, the atmosphere, the energy, the need. I mean, hey, look, guys, if we had you, we could beat these guys. That whole thing. I mean, it's really, you're selling the totality of a situation, the atmosphere, the energy, the need of a school, the want of a school, the relationships with the coaches. What's your major? Does your family feel comfortable? Do you feel comfortable here? Do you want to play in big games? So there's not just one thing. A loss doesn't set you back. Maybe a humiliating 55-0 loss can. Does your team quit? How do they perform? How organized do they look? These kids look at everything. Well, some of them look at nothing. But a lot of them, you know what I mean? Some of them are just staring at cheerleaders. I don't know. I mean, that's probably what I would have done. But we got to give them more credit. And they also don't jump off the cliff as fast as a fan does, quite frankly. I've been interviewing kids the last 2 weeks. And guys, sorry, I'll go on and on. You know how I am. But I've been interviewing kids the last few weeks. And, what do you think of this little bit of slide Auburn's had? Is it, what's the impact of that? You have to ask open-ended questions. And, I don't talk about the slide. I'll just say, hey, Auburn, how they've been playing. What do you think about that? Let them talk. And they say to a man, they've all said, hey, it's really not a big deal. It's the first year. It takes time to get everything into place. Again, a lot of these kids have been playing football for a long time. And even at the high school level, they've had coaching changes and they've seen that it sometimes takes a while for things to be implemented and cultures to change and all that. Now, that doesn't always mean things are going to get better. That's the pie in the sky that we all kind of have. And, we all see the pot of gold there. I'm going to throw out every metaphor and cliche possible, but we all see that. You hope that, but it doesn't always work out that way. That's why teams are always making coaching changes. But when you're early in your tenure, you don't really have too many negative strikes against you as a coaching staff. And so you can with almost a blank canvas say, look, this is what we can do with you. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to utilize you in our offense and our defense. And here's why we need you. We're losing this guy and that guy. And that junior college cornerback I mentioned, Keontae Scott, I mean, I'm sure he'd like Auburn to win, but his whole deal is, hey, man, I got 2-3 years to get ready for the NFL. I got to be playing right away. I can't go somewhere and sit on the bench. And again, for us as fans of football, our teams that we love, we want them to win more than anything else. And these guys want these teams to win too. Don't get me wrong. But their ultimate goal is to get to the NFL. And they know that a place like Auburn, they can do that. So, there's only going to be one national champion every year, guys. That's it. One team. And so everybody else is kind of selling the same thing.
Keith Nieber from 247 Sports. We appreciate your time. Thank you for all the great information on some of the top targets for Auburn, who's going to be at the Iron Bowl, the impact of the Iron Bowl. We really, really appreciate your time and all of your insight. Let folks know how they can follow you, how they can see all your coverage from this weekend, and then, of course, as the early signing period kicks off in less than a month.
Hey, really? Two places. Just go to auburnundercover.com, which is part of the 24/7 Sports Network. A lot of the stuff's subscriber only, but some of it's free. And then also on Twitter, just at Keith247 Sports, where I don't give away stuff, but we'll at least alert you to what we're writing about so you have a clue what's going on.
Good stuff, Keith. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time, man. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Enjoy the Iron Bowl, and we will catch back up with you sometime after the early signing period, okay?
All right. Take care to both of you. I love you guys, and thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Keith.
Thanks, man. All right, guys, that's Keith Nieber. If you're just tuning in, this is AL.com recruiting. A lot of great insight on Auburn and how the impact of the Iron Bowl when it comes to recruiting. Brian Harsin's first full class, trying to bring in his guys. Obviously, it's going to be huge, Ben, when it comes to the impact that he has on this program moving forward and trying to get implement what the guys that he wants in this program.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, and as Keith said, we had a list of 7 or 8 kids up there that are officially visiting. And as he said, there's probably going to be 100 there at Auburn, unofficial, official, however they're described. So a huge week. I thought, the question I asked about, because obviously Auburn, not many people expect Auburn to win this game the way things are trending. Will that make a difference? And I thought his answer was interesting, that he talked to some of these guys and they said, look, it doesn't really matter. And I think, that's the thing about Auburn that we've always heard for years and years is the town, the family atmosphere, the craziness at Jordan-Hare Stadium that can get a lot of people's attention. So huge weekend for Brian Harsin. They obviously need help on both lines of scrimmage. They've got some already. Eston Harris, Drew Bobo from Auburn High School. They've got some help coming in. They need some more, and this is a big weekend to try and get it done.
All right, guys, let's switch gears a little bit. The round 3 of the high school football playoffs is in the books. That means that the finals are already set for 7A. It's going to be Thompson and Central Phoenix City. Let's look at some of our spotlight performances really quick from last week. All these are going to come from the 7A game between Thompson and Hoover as the Warriors beat the Bucks after losing to them in the region play. Of course, going on the road in semifinals and beating them 35-10 to advance to yet another state final game, potentially winning another blue map for those guys up there. Jeremiah Alexander, an Alabama guy, one of the best players, if the best player in the state, one of the best players in the country. Ben, I saw some of his highlights. Man, this guy's an animal. He's unbelievable. That interception return for a touchdown was freaking awesome.
Yeah, he and Peter Woods both were devastating in this game, Simone. You see Jeremiah's stats there. Obviously, he's been the number 1 player in this class for a long time. There's, oftentimes in recruiting rankings, you see that number 1 spot in the state kind of shift. That has not happened. Jeremiah's been number 1 for a long time. 2 assists there. The interception. Sean DeFore, the defensive coordinator, called me the other day and said, "Hey, we don't know how to stat this because it was actually Peter Woods hit the quarterback before he threw, and the ball just popped up in the air, and Jeremiah caught it and ran it for a touchdown." So, whether it's an interception or a fumble return, whatever, Peter calls it, and Jeremiah returned it for a touchdown. So that devastating Thompson defense with 2 guys already committed to Alabama, Jeremiah and his teammate Traquan Fagans, the defensive back, 2 juniors who are probably trending toward Alabama, and Peter Woods and Tony Mitchell. Just a lot of star power there.
Let's talk the offensively for Thompson. Connor Harrell.
There you see Peter's stats, by the way, Simone, there that Patrick put up for 3 sacks, 5 tackles for a loss, and a forced fumble, which was actually the interception or whatever, but craziness. Those 2 guys are tough to block.
No doubt. And we will see what they look like next Wednesday. It is in Birmingham as they look to win a 3rd straight? Is it a 3rd straight state title?
It'll be a 3rd straight. Yeah, they've been in the title game 4 straight times, times, and they played Central Phoenix City 3 of those times.
Yes, 7A definitely top heavy. There's no question about that. Let's talk about the quarterback for the Warriors, Connor Harrell, going to North Carolina, had a big game back from injury, Ben, after everything that he had to deal with a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, that was the question going in was, will Connor play? Now, he played a little bit in the quarterfinal matchup there against Oak Mountain. Didn't start, but got some playing time. Got kind of shook the rust off, and didn't look like much rust on Friday night, as you see there. Yeah. Patrick throwing up the stats: 11 of 12. I think that was actually 142 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. He had some good runs as well. He's back. There you go. And, that's a big key for them as far as going forward to state title game, because we saw last year when he got hurt against Auburn, they could not do a whole lot offensively in the second half. They ended up winning that game, as we know, in a crazy fashion. But he's going to be a big part of that offense if they are to three-peat next Wednesday. Yeah.
And one of his top targets is Thompson wide receiver Ryan Pepins, who's had a huge just entire year. I mean, I know one time he had like 4 or 5 touchdowns in one game. Ben, some big news, recruiting news for him this week.
Yeah, he ironically had 5 touchdown receptions. It was the week the Alabama-Mississippi game was announced, and he wasn't on the list. And that week he had 5 touchdown receptions. Great player. He's a little small, and I guess that's why people haven't recruited him. But he had been committed to Western Kentucky, but just this week he decommits and flips to Utah. So some big time schools now getting on Ryan Pepins, who's a great player, as people that watch the Super 7 next week will be able to see.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's talk quickly about our spotlight games. It's the semifinals for everybody else, 6 through 1A. We're going to look at a couple 6A games. It was really hard picking these games, Ben. We pick these games every single week. These two are some tough matchups. First one we're going to talk about is Hillcrest at Hueytown. 2 quarterbacks, man, who are just straight ballers. I mean, they are fantastic. What they've done so far in the postseason has been incredible. But I know, Ben, you can speak to this, but this was a really, really tough game to pick when it comes to who has the upper hand offensively.
For sure. And you can see our picks, by the way, on AL.com on Thursdays. We picked all the 12 games. You and me, Simone, and Dennis Victory, and Randy Kennedy there. DeAndre Coleman's probably an underrated wide receiver. The guy's fantastic for Hueytown. He's going to Coastal Carolina. Hueytown, there's a good feature on AL.com by Mike Perrin right now. And Hueytown's offense is like, if you've seen Tennessee, they go so fast. It's just very unusual. It'll be fun. It's fun to watch. And this game, I think, will be kind of a high-scoring affair. Earl Woods is a Mr. Football candidate at quarterback for Hueytown, only a junior. Then on the other side, Ethan Crawford. I think most people picked Saraland to beat Hillcrest last week. That did not happen. Hillcrest scored 24 straight points in the second half and won that game 24-16. This is a rematch of an earlier season game that I think Hueytown won 38-30, if I'm not mistaken. So expect it. I expect a game kind of in the 30s again between these two teams. Should be a really good one at Hueytown Friday night.
Totally agree. On the other side of 6A, a matchup that I know I've certainly been looking forward to, even though I don't cover Birmingham schools anymore, but Clay Chalkville at Mountain Brook. But I don't know who you picked. I already sent you my pick in this game. I picked Mountain Brook, and it was hard to pick Mountain Brook. They've lost, one game this year, and that was against Thompson, and we know what type of talent Thompson is. They've shut out. I mean, I don't even know how many shutouts they've served this year, but what they've been able to do this year, this was a very, very hard game to pick because Clay Chalkville is also pretty incredible offensively.
Yeah, I mean, as you see there, kind of comedy. I mean, as our matchups, I put Caleb Johnson, the Louisville commit, against that stingy Mountain Brook defense. I picked Clay Chalkville in this game. I don't want to give away, but all 3 of y'all, the other pickers, picked Mountain Brook. And
well, then you probably going to win, considering you are in first.
I don't know. I mean, Mountain Brook,
they'll go with me.
Mountain Brook is trending the right way, though. Like you said, their defense has been good all year. They had that one loss against Thompson, which you almost throw out because it's Thompson and they're so good. Clay Chalkville last week won 50-44 in overtime against the good Gardendale team. Mountain Brook shuts out Pinson Valley, the defending champs, 30-0. I like the way Mountain Brook's trending there, but before the playoffs started, I picked Clay Chalkville to go. Before the playoffs started, I picked Clay Chalkville to go to the title game, so I got to kind of stick by that. But
you
this should be a really good game.
Brain, you tell your wife, your kid, you picked it with
on Randy Kennedy and I's award-winning radio show that you can hear at 2 p.m. on the free iHeartRadio network.
Things happen, though. I mean, things trend certain directions throughout the playoffs, or sometimes you have to filter away from what you initially said you were going to do.
Sometimes. And I really do feel good about this Mountain Brook team. So should be a good game. I mean, it's kind of Clay Chalkville's high-scoring offense against that Mountain Brook defense, and this should be a really fascinating game to watch.
No doubt, all these games Friday night, 7 o'clock. Again, 7A semifinal or final is already set. There'll be Thompson versus Central. All the semifinals around the state will kick off Friday evening. Ben, really quick, I know we have like 30 seconds left. If you can tell us quickly, I know you had some A-list prospects who are still playing, a lot of guys we've already named. Anyone that you want to pinpoint before we head out?
Yeah, just 4 A-list guys that are on. We only got 4 of the 15 left playing. The 2 guys from Thompson, Jeremiah Alexander and Traquan Fagans, playing Central Phoenix City next week. You got TJ Dudley, the Oregon linebacker commit from Montgomery Catholic. They'll be hosting Montgomery Academy this week. And then Curtis, do what now? Catholic. I mean, Catholics allowed 33 points all year. It's hard to pick against them. And then obviously Curtis Perry, who we talked about earlier in the show, the Pike Road defensive lineman who we had on the field. I picked Pike Road against Andalusia, but I think that could be a really close game. Andalusia had played them within 28-14. That's probably the closest game they've had this year, other than St. Paul's.
My husband and I got into a little disagreement about who's going to win that game. He thinks it's Andalusia all the way, but
he could be right.
Pike Road's quarterback is the difference maker, in my opinion. That guy is a baller.
Yeah, they were impressive last week in that 42-0 win over Faith Academy. Yikes!
No question. All right, guys, what a show! It's been great. It's been a great 31 weeks. This is my last show, at least for right now. Ben will join Randy Kennedy, Patrick Greenfield behind the scenes. Moving forward, this is the last one for me, as I'm going to go on maternity leave next week. So, thank you all for tuning in and for being loyal viewers and listeners and all the things over the last couple of weeks. I'll be back, Ben, though. You can't totally get rid of me.
I know. I was about to say, you said this is my last show. For now. Let's put for now. I mean, we expect and hope that you'll be back in the new year, and we certainly wish you and Bart good luck with little JP coming in next week, and it's going to be a great Thanksgiving for y'all, and really praying for Grant. It's going to be great. You're going to love it. We'll try and go on without you somehow, Patrick and I. I will be joined in the interim by Randy Kennedy. We plan to have a show next Tuesday, one day earlier, because the Super 7 starts on Wednesday. So Randy and I will be with you and Patrick kind of previewing the Super 7 on Tuesday. You can follow me on Twitter to get probably be at noon on Tuesday, but follow me and we'll let you know. And Simone, you'll just be another viewer at that time, just tuning in to see what we say.
I'll be sure to tune in sometime between, like changing diapers and trying to get some sleep and things of that nature from what I've been told. So, all right, guys, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Enjoy the Iron Bowl. Enjoy turkey, ham, whatever it is that y'all have, stuffing, dressing, whatever you call it. Y'all enjoy it. And we will see you next week, or Ben will with Randy Kennedy and Patrick Greenfield. As always, I'll see y'all sometime early next year. So enjoy it. Happy Christmas or Merry Christmas while we're at it. You might as well go with that. So you guys, thanks so much for tuning in to AL.com Recruiting Show, episode number 31. If you missed the beginning of the show, go back. Check out Keith Nieber from 247 Sports, all he had to say about the Iron Bowl when it comes to recruiting and who are expected to have on the planes this week. But for Ben Thomas, Patrick Greenfield, I'm Simone Eli. Again, thanks for tuning in to AL.com Recruiting, brought to you by Southern Orthopedic Surgeons, here for the athlete in all of us. Have a